And hello race fans, and welcome here as we get ready for knockout qualifying for our 17th race of the season here in the NNSCRA Hersheys Cup Series. We are here in Tennessee, but we're not at Bristol Motor Speedway. We're actually getting ready for Superspeedway racing at Tennessee Superspeedway in a town called Mountain, Tennessee. And this is going to be one of the 10-minute qualifying sessions that we'll be having this season. Mostly these drivers are only allowed 5 minutes on track. Well, because this track is so big, in order to allow these drivers to be able to run decent enough lap times, they have put the clock to 10 minutes for this session, as we're looking at Matt McIntyre in the 8. First one off of pit road. Now, like I said, this is a super speedway, so these drivers, in order to try and qualify their way into the main event here today, are obviously going to have to be able to come off pit road with a group of race cars if possible. That will allow them to be in the draft and be able to run faster lap times. Right now, Matt McIntyre running by his lonesome. He's got to hope that he can maybe merge with some other drivers coming on track. He just got the green flag to begin his timed lap. Sorry about that little pause right there. Had to answer a question for my sister. But we're looking here at Matt McIntyre, who's on his timed lap. Looks like somebody else is on the racetrack about a straightaway behind him. We'll look through the field and see each driver as this practice, well, not practice session, but this qualifying session continues. And Matt McIntyre will now come down the front straightaway and put down his first timed lap, which will be a 58.217, and that was by himself. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see drivers hit maybe 54s, maybe even 53s before this is over as far as draft laps are concerned. James Qualls just now took the green flag to start his lap, as did Zach Flickinger and Kyle Matthews, who are both in a draft, but not running one behind the other. They actually are running side by side. Zachary Fitzwater, who had a top 5 run last week at... Boy, I had trouble even remembering what the track was when I put it into the name of the race when I saved the video. Doggone it. Wasn't Darlington, it was the race after that. Okay, well, I'll think of it. But he had a top 5 run last week anyway. Phoenix, that's where it was. Sean Galligan. There's Michael Norman. Now, Michael Norman last week ended up finishing 31st in the Phoenix race. The driver he's trying to chase down for the points lead, or for the 35th spot in the point standings, Austin LaPlante, ended up finishing, I believe it was something like 39th. So Norman only made up about 8 points on Austin LaPlante last week. Comes into today's race 50 points still behind Austin LaPlante for 35th in the standings. So he's got to make sure he qualifies into this race as he's side by side with Galligan behind Grayson Acevedo. This is the group that's producing a lot of the speed right at the moment. Austin Gipe, second fastest. Johnny Gardner, third fastest. Sam McMillan, fifth fastest. Stephen Pollard, the third, I believe, is still on his first time lap. No, actually he's not. He's 17th fastest right now. Seth Cole actually jumped to the top of the leaderboard. We'll see him in just a moment as Brandon Gonzalez, Jace Nelson, and Cody Lamas are going to race each other 3 wide. Lamas right now 9th fastest. Jace is 7th fastest. And Brandon is now, well, he was 8th fastest, just dropped to 11th fastest. As it's side by side between Joseph Srigley and Chris Dowd. They're 17th and 18th fastest at the moment. Seth Cole was the fastest on track a moment ago, but now Sam McMillan has jumped to the top of the speed charts. Seth Cole now drops to 5th fastest. They're about to cross the stripe. Let's see where he is now. Does he jump up at all? Yep, right back up to the top of the leaderboard, along with Joshua Michaels. Those two actually now are tied at the top with the fastest lap of 53.876. Dallas McIntosh, however, he did not jump up into the top 7. John Citadino did. jumped up to 5th fastest with a 54.156, and now these four are going to merge with Joseph Srigley and Chris Dowd. This could be the group that produces a lot of the speed here. If these 6 can turn fast enough laps, they can get 6 of the 7 spots. See what other groups may have been formulated at this point. Matt McIntyre still by himself. So is James Qualls. Flickinger and Matthews are kind of by their lonesome. Here's a pack that might be able to produce some speed. Grayson Acavito, Michael Norman, Sean Galligan, and Zachary Fitzwater. At the current point in time, the fastest car of this group is Acavito with a 54.664 rather. And then this group back here, if they could catch up to that group ahead of them, maybe they could produce more speed. You got 8th fastest Austin Gipe, 4th fastest Sam McMillan, 5th fastest Stephen Pollard III, and 6th fastest Johnny Gardner. Right now, those 3 would make the show. 2 of them former winners this season, Pollard and McMillan. These 3 trying to produce speed, but not enough of them there. 15th fastest for Lamas, 13th fastest for Nelson, and 14th for Gonzalez. And then here's the group with all the speed. Now Chris Dowd was 17th fastest lap time by. Now he's got a group to be able to work with here. John Cittadino here along with Dallas McIntosh. Let's see if this helps his lap time at all. At the stripe, 54.983, and he's now 14th fastest. Still needs more speed to get himself up there into the top 7. John Cittadino is 3rd fastest right now. Seth Cole and Joshua Michaels tied for the lead in fastest speed. And Dallas McIntosh has been in this group for the last couple of laps. He's on his 5th lap of qualifying, and he's only up to 11th fastest right now. This is a group that's been producing a lot of speed right now. Michael Norman, 8th fastest, just looking in. Sean Galligan and Zachary Fitzwater have both just squeaked in at this current point in time. 6th and 7th fastest. And they're about to reel in Zach Flickinger and Kyle Matthews, so maybe that'll help them produce a little bit more speed. Let's jump back to that other group with Stephen Pollard III and Sam McMillan. Here they are. Gipe just ran his fastest lap of the race, but it was only a 54.247, which is only good enough for 12th fastest on the charts right at the moment. Right now, the way things stand, it would be Seth Cole, Joshua Michaels, John Cittadino, Sam McMillan, Stephen Pollard III, Sean Galligan, and Zachary Fitzwater who would transfer in. We got about a little less than 2 minutes remaining in this session as well. So time is running out for these drivers to produce speed and turn fast laps. This time by about 2/10 slower for Austin Gipe. And still no change in the top 7. As Joshua Michaels, I believe, he has just now returned to the racetrack. Trying to make that car just a little bit faster. Right now, he and Seth Cole are tied for the fastest lap on track, 53.876. And now, Michael Norman, Sean Galligan, Grayson Acavito, and Zachary Fitzwater have caught Zach Flickinger and Kyle Matthews. Now they make a 6-car pack, which could end up bringing out a last-minute driver into our top 7. Down the front straightaway, let's see if Flickinger, if this improves his lap at all. 54.578, and that moves him from 18th fastest up to 13th fastest. Someone, I think, just jumped into the top 7. It was Grayson Acavito. He just knocked Zachary Fitzwater out. Acavito with a 54.067 now is up in the 7th spot. Zachary Fitzwater has now dropped out, and I think Fitzwater came to pit road. I don't think he thought that he might get knocked out. And someone else just jumped up. John Cittadino, top of the leaderboard. And Dallas McIntosh just jumped up to 2nd. And that just knocked Acavito out of the top 7. With 10 seconds remaining, McIntosh just jumped up to 2nd with a 53.634. Cittadino to the top of the leaderboard with 53.622, and Seth Cole 3rd fastest with a 53.646. Those 3 just produced the 3 fastest laps, and they are going to make it into the race. zeros on the clock. It's now time for the cool down lap here, and it looks like officially the drivers that will race their way into the main event will be John Cittadino, Dallas McIntosh, Seth Cole, Joshua Michaels, Sam McMillan, Stephen Paul III, and Sean Galligan by a little bit less than 1/100th of a second over Kyle Matthews. Keep in mind that if drivers did cross the start-finish line before the session ended, they do have an opportunity to try and make a last-minute move in, but the leaders here, the top 3 in speeds, are just about to make it to the start-finish line, so I don't think there's very many drivers that are actually going to be able to do that. Galligan on the bubble, hoping that is the case, that nobody's going to be able to turn a lap here before the session's over. And the leaders will come to the start-finish line here, and I don't see that they're going to be scored another lap time. And indeed they are not. So that means that this session will more than likely be over now, and it is indeed. So, your official standings and the drivers that transfer in will be John Cittadino, Dallas McIntosh, Seth Cole, Joshua Michaels, Sam McMillan, Stephen Paul III, and Sean Galligan. Just missing out. Very close lap times there between 5th down through 10th place. But missing the race will be Kyle Matthews, Grayson Acavito, Zachary Fitzwater, also Johnny Gardner, Michael Norman. That's a huge one for him as he's been trying to reel in Austin LaPlante for 35th in points. Also worth mentioning, 72 points out of 35th in the standings is Joshua Michaels. He makes the race, so we'll see how that plays out. Also missing the race included Austin Gipe, Zach Flickinger, Cody Lamas, Jason Nelson, Chris Dowd, Brandon Gonzalez, James Qualls, Matt McIntyre, and Joseph Srigley. So, we know the 7 drivers that will transfer their way into our points-paying race here at Tennessee Superspeedway. Let's get ready to see what kind of racing we'll have here today at a debuting track in the Hersheys Cup Series. Let's go live to the race right now. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get ready to go Superspeedway racing at a debuting track. We are live at Tennessee Superspeedway. This is, up to this point, the longest restricted plate track that we have visited. Daytona's a 2.5-mile superspeedway. Talladega a little bit bigger than that, but today we are going racing at a 3-mile superspeedway here at Tennessee Superspeedway, and I believe it's Mountain, Tennessee is where we're at. I haven't looked at an atlas in the last couple of weeks. Anyway, we're getting ready for 20 laps of racing here today, and here's the interesting factor. Myself, the pit crews, the drivers, don't really know what to expect from this racetrack because it's a debuting racetrack. They've never been here before. Will this be like a typical restricted plate race? Well, we're going to find out. We don't know if we're going to see 3 and 4 wide racing. We don't even know if we're going to have pit stops in this thing. There's 20 scheduled laps today, but we don't know what the fuel window is. All these questions will be answered very shortly when we go under the green flag. Cooper Cyron lines up on the pole position, trying to pick up his first win of the season. So far, only one driver from Joe Gibbs Racing's been to victory lane twice, and that was Jeremy Jones, our winner last week at Phoenix. Alongside of him, Dylan Young, who is also trying to find victory lane for the first time this season. His teammate JT Bryant has already been to victory lane, and Dylan Young trying to get the Worth Pennzoil Dodge to victory lane here today. Lining up in the 3rd position will be a teammate for Cooper Cyron, last week's winner Jeremy Jones, a 2-time winner of the season, and trying to run down Kean Eddington for the points lead, comes in only 7 points back from the driver in 33, and alongside of him, the driver that comes in 10th in points, Pichu London, still chasing his first win of the season, but remaining very consistently in the top 10 in points. Trent Dunham, looking for a little luck to come his way. He's a very well-known restrictor plate racer, and maybe they circled this race on their calendar. He'll roll off 5th here today for Tweenix Racing. Alongside of him, Tristan Folks in the 17, who's really jumped his way up in the point standings, but still looking for that first win of the season. Then it's on all Tweenix row 4. Dylan Poteet in the 31, lined up alongside of Seth Cole in the 52. Both of them still looking for their first win of the season. Matter of fact, Tweenix Racing has not been to victory lane yet this season with any of their drivers. Then completing your top 10, Joshua Circuli, another 2-time winner this season, up 3rd in the point standings, will line up alongside of Rocco Twyman, who finds himself 6th in the point standings, but he's also still looking for his first win of the season. Let's show you the rest of your starting lineup for today's race. There you saw on the 6 of James Richardson. He is trying out the new Ford Fusion, and there is another driver in this field that's doing it as well. I don't remember off the top of my head who it is. We'll see him when we go through the field here, I think. Well, maybe not. Maybe Richardson's the only one doing it. I thought there was another one, but apparently not. James Richardson, I think, is the only one, actually, that is running the new Ford Fusion today. So we'll see how it stacks up as opposed to the older Ford Fusions in today's race. But enough chit-chat. Let's go down and get the command to fire up these engines here today at Tennessee Superspeedway.
Driver, start your engine!
There is the command, and the pace car will roll off, leading all 42 drivers behind it as we are getting ready to go racing here today. Restricted plate tracks, more normally than not, seem to cater to the underdog, and also the past 2 restricted plate races that we've had have really helped to pave the way for drivers to make their way into possible chase and thus championship competition. Case in point, Ryan Acosta won the Daytona 500. He finds himself in the second wildcard spot right now and 14th in the point stands with an opportunity to move back into the top 10 with a good run here today. Our other restricted plate stop was Talladega Superspeedway, Jeremy Jones winning that race, and since then he's also won another race last week at Phoenix. 2-time winner, only 7 points back from the points leading the standings. Definitely can say a win at a restricted plate track can help to boost your momentum heading through this chase to the chase for the championship. The overall points coming into this race as far as the drivers that are in the top 10 in the wildcard spots, Kean Eddington is still the points leader by 7 points over Jeremy Jones as mentioned. Joshua Circuli is 3rd in points, 4th is Jake Baskinger, 5th place is Daniel Bouchard. In 6th place is Rocco Twyman, Tim Walsh 7th, 8th Benjamin Miles, Joshua Lee still hanging in there, he's 9th, and Pichu London is 10th. Right now, the 2 wildcard spots will be held by James Richardson, he's 13th in points, and Ryan Acosta, 14th in points. The only other 2 drivers that have a win that are in wildcard contention right now in the top 30 in points would be JT Bryant and Noah Cars. We're going to talk about Noah Cars in just a minute, but we're getting ready to go green flag racing for 20 laps here today at Tennessee Superspeedway. What are we going to see? Can't wait to find out. We are green flag racing here today at Tennessee Superspeedway. And since we've never been here before and the Sprint Cup Series doesn't come here, I didn't have a race name for it, so yay. Now, JT Bryant, as I mentioned, former winner this season, still in the top 30 in points. He's 19th in the standings. Right now, he does not have a wild card position. He's trying to run down Ryan Acosta for it. But as far as Noah Cars, he does have that win at Martinsville, but he is 30th in the point stands. And remember, you have to be in the top 30 in points for your win to count towards a wild card spot. If Noah Cars falls outside of the top 30 in points today, he would be out of contention at that point in time from having his win count towards a wild card position. So he's in a very precarious position right now, is the driver of the 42. As the 1 car will go to P1, Trent Dunham takes the lead away from Cooper Cyron. Looks like he's going to try and lead the first lap of this race. Emmanuel Hartnett wants to challenge. First lap, I believe, might have been led by Trent, but it was close between him and the 19. And Trent Dunham did indeed lead the first lap. And look at this racing further back there. 5 wide there with Joshua Michaels, Austin LaPlante almost rubbing doors. And they settled it out, but they're still 4 wide further back. Richardson, Seth Cole, Ryan Acosta, Tristan Folks. It is a mayhem back there, but somehow they're keeping it together just as long as they don't lean on each other. Hopefully none of them were listening to the song Lean On Me before this race, because if they did, we're in big trouble. 200 miles per hour here at Tennessee Superspeedway, and they're 3 wide for the lead. Hartnett up the middle. Here comes Carson Scott to the bottom. It's going to be a drag race between 3 lines coming to the stripe. Which line's going to win out? Looked like the outside line with Trent Dunham, as he managed to clear the 83. Now he might have actually cleared the 38. Well, not quite. Carson Scott is still to the inside. They're still 4 wide further back. Now Richardson banging doors with Anthony McCrory's Audi. Actually, I'm not sure that was Richardson. That might have actually been Holden Gluba. I might have been looking at the wrong white machine. And indeed I was. I was incorrect in that information. I apologize. Carson Scott's about to maybe get a challenge. That's from his teammate, John Arndt. Don't forget, those two drivers from AS Racing finished second and third to Ryan Acosta in the Great American Race Daytona 500, so they know how to run here at restrictor plate races. There's Levi McIntyre, third on the inside line. He comes into this race, I believe it's either 11th, 12th in points, something like that. A win here today could certainly help his chances in getting towards the chase for the championship. And right behind him, that bright orange car, that's your points leader coming into this race, Kean Eddington. Our winner from Darlington is now making his way up towards the front. I'm looking at the back to see who the riders are. The drivers that want to just ride at the back. And I'm seeing a couple of drivers running well in points that are back there, including the 18 of Jeremy Jones. I believe I saw the 21 of Pichu London. And I think the 11 of Rocco Twyman might be back there as well. Tim Walsh stepping out of line, and he's going to go 3 wide for the lead. Eddington in the middle. Down low, Walsh. Up high, Levi McIntyre inside line gets a big run through that corner, and Tim Walsh, with the help of Sean Galligan, goes to the lead. They'll go 1-2 coming down out of turn 4 and coming to the line. So far, so green, but you can't say the action hasn't been hot and heavy all the way through this field. And here comes Galligan to the bottom. He wants to take the lead. He's outside the top 35 in points. He wants to make his way into the chase for the championship via wildcard spot. More importantly, he wants to make his way into the top 35 in points so he doesn't have to keep qualifying into races. And wait a minute, are we under caution because the field seemed to have split up a little bit? From Cooper Siron on back, the field is split up, and the caution lights are on. So we apparently did have a wreck. I was wondering why the field had split up so much. Apparently we are under the yellow flag, and we're racing back to the line. Here comes John Arndt to the bottom. He's bringing Anthony McCurry and Jake Baskinger with him. And Arndt, with the run on the inside, may take the lead. Let's see if the outside line battles back. Galligan has Tim Walsh with him. Drag race to the stripe. Who's gonna get it? It's close. It was Galligan by about 3/100ths. Now let's make sure they do not wreck while slowing down for this first caution. The first caution coming out on lap number 5. And it looks like they're all going to slow down safely enough. Man, those were some action-packed first laps. Let's see who the caution was out for. Oh, Ryan Acosta! The holder of wildcard spot number 2. Seth Cole also involved. Joshua Lee, we talked about his consistency. Looks like he might have gotten collected in this. And there is some left side damage on the Houston Rockets Ford of Tristan Folks. There you see it. Aside from that, everyone else seems to be clean. So at the most, we may have had 5 drivers involved, but that's going to hurt Ryan Acosta for sure. And I don't know if the leaders are going to come to pit road or not, but we're going to look back at the replay, and then when we come back live, I'll let you know if they did make a pit stop or not. Because, like I said, we don't know if there is a fuel window inside of the 20-lap schedule today. But aside from that, right now, Sean Galligan is your leader here in today's race at Tennessee Superspeedway under our first caution of the day. Well, this isn't exactly the best camera angle to be able to see what happened, but... oh, well, yeah, you could see what happened. Joshua Lee just came up the racetrack, gave Ryan Acosta no room, and then they collect Austin LaPlante and Seth Cole. Acosta over on his lid, Seth Cole over on his lid. And wow, look at the wild ride the 52 car takes. End over end, side over side, barrel rolling down in turn 1. And then flips the 78 back over again with that least little bit of contact. And wow, look at that. That's the kind of wrecking you see when they're racing 200 miles per hour in a closely knit pack. And Seth Cole's car finally going to come to rest on its roof, wheels, side, something. And side. Apparently. So, about 4 cars involved in that one. Tristan Folks was not involved, it appears, and roof. Confirmed roof. He's gone. So I'm not certain where that left side damage came from on the 17 car, but apparently he got into rubbing doors with somebody and sustained some damage as a result. But that's a tough break there for Ryan Acosta. 14th in points, came in holding the second wildcard spot, and now somebody might be able to challenge him for it, especially if we have a different driver go to victory lane here today. So we're going to head back now for live action, getting ready for our restart. Getting ready to go back to green, we have a new leader due to pit stops. They did take place, and John Arndt was the first one off of pit road. It looked like everybody went with gas and goes. Tristan Folk, you see him lying on the inside line. He had to repair the damage, had an extended stay on pit road, and it trapped him a lap down. So he'll restart on the inside of the leaders. Only 2 drivers out of the race after what we saw, Ryan Acosta and Seth Cole. Austin LaPlante also made repairs to his machine, has returned back to the racetrack. He's still in the lead lap in the 39th position. So off pit road, the race off pit road is how they restart. John Arndt restarts as the race leader. Anthony McCurry second, Tim Walsh third. Sean Galligan dropped from the lead back to 4th place. 5th place is Mason Wood. Jake Baskinger 6th. Levi McIntyre 7th. Points leader Kean Eddington is in 8th. 9th place James Richardson. And clean your top 10 is Trent Dunham. We got an opportunity here. Why don't we go a little bit further back in the field here? Jessica Shelton's going to line up in the 11th position. Our runner-up last week from Phoenix. Stephen Paul III looking for his second win of the season. He's 12th. Carson Scott 13th. Joshua Michaels also for his second win of the season. He's 14th. And 15th is Holden Gluba. Noah Carr is in 16th. 17th place Mason Powers. 18th is Emmanuel Hartnett. 19th Cooper Cyron and Ryan Madden completes your top 20. Then it's Charles Sanford, Benjamin Miles, Blaine Keys, Dylan Young, and Daniel Voigt your top 25. Pete London, Joshua Circuli, Sam McMillan, John Cittadino, and Dallas McIntosh your top 30. That's JT Bryant, William Brock, Danny Bouchard, Dylan Poteet, Rocco Twyman, Jeremy Jones, Leon Alvarez, Joshua Lee, and Austin LaPlante. That is the remainder of your field as we get ready to go back racing. 40 drivers still on track, 39 of them on the lead lap. We're back green flag racing here at Tennessee with about 11 laps to go. Now that 17 car, I think, is still going to be up to speed with these drivers. But we must keep in mind that he is off the lead lap. As John Arndt goes around, takes the top position. Anthony McCurry trying to get the outside line formed up with Tim Walsh, Mason Wood. Tristan Folks has got an inside line working there with Galligan, Baskinger, Levi McIntyre. Looks like Jessica Shelton wants to form a third lane down low. Now lets Baskinger back in line, and Levi McIntyre gets put in the sucker hole as Anthony McCurry goes for the lead. We've had Toyota, Ford, and Chevrolet go to victory lane so far this season. Audi, Mercedes-Benz have had opportunities, and they have not been able to do it. McCurry trying to do it here today at Tennessee. And I don't want to say it, and I'm not going to say it. Okay, so never mind. I'm not stupid. I was going to say I thought I saw the caution lights on, but I didn't. Okay, Joshua Lee, you can see back there, the damage he sustained from that wreck has lost the pack. And for the first time in a number of weeks, that 5 car may find himself outside the top 10 in points. Battles on for second. Sean Galligan peeks to the inside of John Arndt. Has Jessica Shelton pushing him towards the front. James Richardson there. Kean Eddington now is going to go to the inside 3 wide on the 6 car, bringing Joshua Michaels along with him. Remember, Joshua Michaels making this race very important for the 10 car. He already bypassed Chris Dowd for 37th, I believe it was in the point standings. Now he's trying to reel in Michael Norman to work up to 36th. The driver he's trying to chase right now in this race is Austin LaPlante, who right now comes into this race 35th in the point standings. And apparently the caution flag's out. Yep, caution. Oh, Sam McMillan up into the wall back there. Looks like Levi McIntyre might have also been collected with him. So we're under caution once again. They took the caution flag. They will begin decreasing their speed now, with Anthony McCurry and the Audi RS5 out in front. Looked like, for the most part, a 2-car incident. McMillan and McIntyre. Don't know if anybody else was involved or not, but we're going to take the opportunity to look back and see if indeed somebody else was collected up in that incident. As we're under caution for the second time today, we may have a shootout to finish out this race when we come back. It is worth mentioning that at this point, Jake Baskinger was actually on the pit lane, making a pit stop. And this has all the looks of that Levi McIntyre was going to try and come to pit road as well. And just, he wasn't even in a good spot to be able to head for pit road. Heads right down into Sam McMillan. Stephen Pollard III also absolutely nowhere for the 32 to go. And I'm not really sure what the 99 was thinking there. He was on the outside line. And he clearly was not clear of the 41, who had a big run on him on the inside. And McIntyre just decreases his speed. Turns dead left as if he was coming for pit road with a whole bunch of traffic behind him. He wasn't even down the inside line to be able to signal that, hey, I'm braking and coming to pit road. And boy, a big foul up there on the part of the 99 has some torn up race cars now. And Levi McIntyre, who was running so well in the point standings, had an opportunity today to maybe work his way up into the top 10 in the standings. Now finds himself with a torn up race car. Same for a couple of drivers that are former winners this season outside the top 35 in points, Stephen Pollard III and Sam McMillan. This is a big break, however, for Jake Baskinger, who had also just come to pit road. Where's the 95? I believe at this point he is on the pit lane. Oh no, he had actually just left pit road, and that kept him on the tail end of the lead lap. So a very lucky guy in the 95 machine. I'm not even rightly sure why the 95 of Baskinger was on pit road, nor why the 99 of Levi McIntyre wanted to come to pit road. As far as I'm aware, these drivers are probably able to make it the rest of the way on fuel, but then again, like I said, we've never been here before. I don't know if maybe pitting back on lap 5, they still can't make it the rest of the way. But nobody took the opportunity to come to pit road out of the lead lap cars here, so I'm not certain. I really don't know. Anthony McCurry, though, is the leader. Second place, Kean Eddington. Emmanuel Harton third. Galligan is in fourth, and Joshua Michaels completes top 5. As we do have 2 drivers out of the race, Stephen Pollard III and Sam McMillan. Tristan Folk still a lap down. And apparently we must have had some other drivers that hit pit lane. Baskinger's in 31st, so it looks like Shelton, Dylan Young, Benjamin Miles, Pichu London, Dallas McIntosh, as well as the damaged machine of Levi McIntyre, all took the opportunity to come to pit road. Huh, interesting. Well, they did all do gas and goes when they came to pit road, but I don't know. Very interesting. Rest of your top 10 for the restart will be John Arndt, Ryan Madden, Mason Powers, James Richardson, and Tim Walsh. Kean Eddington lining up there in that second position comes in as the points leader. We've not seen Jeremy Jones up here near the front at all yet in the 18. He will be restarting in the 27th position. Haven't really seen Joshua Circules 27 up here either. Where's he restarting? He's restarting 29th. So right now, things looking good for Kean Eddington, but this ain't over yet. It'll be 5 laps to go when we get the green flag, which is now waving over the hood of the Audi of Anthony McCurry. We're back racing. I'm not so sure, but it looked like the 27 car, Kyle Bushed it. I think he was catching back up to the tail end of the field and may have passed a couple of cars on the outside line with the big run. Not certain. Maybe I'm just seeing things, but that's what it looked like to me. McCrory going to try and block every line, and right now he'll have to block 3 of them. Michaels down low, Galligan in the middle, Hartnett losing ground on the high side. As they begin spreading out there, whoa, Tim Walsh nearly seemed like he almost got into Mason Powers. Maybe not. Maybe it was just the camera angle that made me think that's what it was going to be. As McCrory continues to lead, Mason Powers now jumps up to second. Oh, please don't have us under caution. Okay, we're not under caution. Those lights, they play havoc with my eyes. I keep thinking we're under yellow. And we're going to have a swap for the lead. Mason Powers to the inside line takes the top position. Tim Walsh behind him. John Cittadino there as well. They're all lined up low. They're all lined up high. Which line's going to move? Well, looks like Tim Walsh wants to make a third line down low. And he'll go to the lead. Look at some of these drivers up here we haven't talked about yet. Dylan Pote in the 31, Rocco Twyman in the 11, Mason Wood in the 14. Now they're up here in the mix as they're side by side for the lead. Walsh with help from Citadine. Uh-oh, they're moving up the racetrack. Does that mean someone's signaling they're coming to pit road? It does. Tim Walsh is on pit road. Rocco Twyman. Here comes Hartnett. Arndt. Racer. Oh, not Racer. That's not Racer. That's Madden, and he just missed pit road. Went through the grass. Oh, no. Please don't be under caution. Please. Please still be green. Please still be green. We're under caution. Doggone it. Tim Walsh is on pit road. Arndt, McIntosh, Bouchard, Hartnett, and Dylan Young apparently was the reason for the caution. And did we take the yellow? Apparently we did. Doggone it. That means that we're not going to get back racing. I was hoping that maybe we were going to be able to have them make these pit stops without any problems, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So now's the big question of, are these drivers going to be able to clutch enough fuel to make it the rest of the way? So we're going to quickly step aside, take a look and see what put us under this final caution of the day, and then we're going to come back and see if Mason Powers can hang on for this victory. Well, Dylan Young was coming to pit road, and if we had an in-car audio, it was probably something like this. All right, I'm coming in behind the 42. Yep, we're going to pit. Wait a minute, where's the 42 going? Hello, where you think you're going? Oh, Lord, oh no, that's an orange cone, and kaboom. Yeah. Into the entrance of the pit wall for Dylan Young. Ryan Madden nearly did that himself in the 88. It's a wonder that he didn't. And apparently that was enough to put us under the caution flag. So, yay. Now we're going to find out if these drivers are going to start dropping like flies with fuel problems or not. Being under caution, they may be able to clutch enough, but we're about to find out. Well, the white flag was just displayed. So we're going to go around at 60 miles per hour for one more time here at Tennessee Superspeedway. The question is, can these drivers make it around for 3 more miles on what's left in their fuel tank? We saw a number of drivers have to dive for pit road with about 4 laps to go. So, with that being said, that means they more than likely could not make it 3 laps. Now, if NR 2003 physics are the same as regular physics, you can normally get about 2 laps on 2 green flag laps on 1 caution lap. So the math would state these drivers would be borderline that they can make it the rest of the way. Mason Powers trying to win this race for CJ Racing. Anthony McCurry there in second. We know what he can do when it comes down to fuel mileage. Dylan Poteet running third right now. That, I believe, would be his best career finish of the season. James Richardson right there in fourth in that new Ford Fusion, and Mason Wood lining up there in 5th place. But the question is, can they make it the rest of the way? They must maintain 60 miles per hour. It's interesting to actually be hearing engines right now near the front of the field. I would not be the least bit surprised if they shut their cars off and coasted. However, with the banking here on the straightaways, I'm not really sure that'd be possible. They probably would have to go down and use the apron. If they shut the car off, I'm not certain those cars would stay up there on that banking. At this restricted plate track, the straightaways are banked almost just as much as the turns. However, Mason Powers doesn't appear to have any signs of running out. I don't think we'd be able to tell anything from inside the cockpit. Fuel pressure looks good, but we can't tell how much fuel there is. But looks like he may have enough to make it. Coming out of the final corner, turn number 4, Mason Powers. Now he can coast if he wants to. Just as long as he maintains 60 miles per hour, Mason Powers is going to capture his first win of the season I believe it'll be the first win of the season as well for CJ Racing. Mason Powers and the 44 team will go to victory lane here today at Tennessee Superspeedway, and it looks like Joshua Lee may have just run out of fuel coming to the start-finish line. I think he still made it, though, but I'm not certain. And now Jeremy Jones is out of fuel. How long is it going to take for more up here at the front to run out of fuel? The 18's out. The 5's out. Poteet now is out. They just barely made it. I told you it was borderline. Poteet's out of fuel. Jones is out of fuel. Joshua Lee is out of fuel. All these drivers, I think, are okay at this point. Looks like it's just the 31, 18, and 5 that right now have run out of fuel. But the race is over. It is official. Mason Powers captures the win here today at Tennessee Superspeedway. Anthony McCurry will come home second. Dylan Poteet third. James Richardson fourth. Mason Wood, in fifth place, Boy, messing up there. Joshua Michaels will get sixth. Leon Alvarez, I believe he's actually been on a hot streak as of late, and he gets a 7th place finish. We'll have to see where he's in the point standings after today's race. Benjamin Miles, 8th place today. Great run for him. That'll keep him in the top 10. JT Bryant will move up in the standings, and Mason Powers is out of fuel now. He just dropped. Let's look at the cockpit. Is he out of fuel? No, the fuel pressure gauge is still up. Maybe a glitch. Anyway, rest of your top 10 completed by JT Bryant and Jake Baskinger. Great run for 4th in points there, coming home in 10th place. As far as the points battle goes, though, take a good look. You got Jeremy Jones finishing the race out in 12th. Where'd the 33 of Eddington go? Well, he was one of those drivers that pitted when that caution came out. He got trapped all the way down in the... where in the world is he? 31st position. Which means, more than likely, we're going to have a new points leader heading into next week. And how about a couple of comeback finishes here? Austin LaPlante caught up in that first wreck along with Joshua Lee. They finished 13th and 14th. And Levi McIntyre got into that wreck with, who was it? Sam McMillan, and he finishes 17th here today. So, making the best out of a bad situation, and looks like now they're trying to coast. McCurry and Powers are out of fuel. They're trying to coast. So here's the rest of your finishing results from today's event. Boy, a lot of drivers back there did not have good runs. Ryan Madden running well in points, 34th. Jessica Shelton coming off a runner-up finish last week. Has been moving up in the standings like a prairie fire, but she's 36th here today. And we ended up having 5 drivers out of the race. Dylan Young, Stephen Paul III, Sam McMillan, Ryan Acosta, who could lose that second wildcard spot now to today's winner, Mason Powers, and Seth Cole. So anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in for today's race. They're doing an interesting dance, and now they all teleported to pit road as Mason Powers takes the checkered flag here today at Tennessee. Now, if you enjoyed this restricted plate racing, I hope you're going to be tuned into next week, because next week we're going back-to-back Superspeedway racing. Next week we go to Coca-Cola Superspeedway. So, that should be very, very interesting. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's race, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. Here again is your full finish results from today's event. Only 3 caution flags, so it was actually a pretty good race here today at Tennessee. Just kind of wish that caution hadn't come out late so we could have seen what kind of a battle we'd have had for the win under green flag conditions, but I'm certain one happy guy that we didn't have that happen is Mason Powers. We'll see you guys next week at Coca-Cola Superspeedway as you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.